Hello, and welcome to Part 3, Sexual Economy. This will be a more focused exploration of innate psychological differences, specifically related to the ways in which males and females choose mates, and the sexual behaviors they enact to do so. Many of these behaviors, such as males competing for females and differing mate preferences, are often explained by feminists as facets of patriarchy and rape culture, even though we see many of these behaviors across the animal kingdom. As it turns out, the simple fact that it's women who produce egg cells, get pregnant, give birth, and in mammals breastfeed can explain why men and women engage in different romantic behaviors. Men and women have different biological situations, and so they evolved different behaviors to maximize their reproductive success given their different resources. Before we go on, I should clarify, just because these behaviors are natural in the sense that they gave our ancestors reproductive success, that does not, in any way, justify these behaviors in some kind of moral or prescriptive sense. These behaviors are just what happened to work for our ancestors in the past, and my only point in this video is that they are not products of patriarchy and rape culture, but of evolution. So, why exactly would these different behaviors evolve? What effects do these biological situations actually create? Well, I hate to sound like some kind of anarcho-capitalist or hardcore libertarian, because I'm not, but in this case, it really does come down to supply and demand, hence the title of this video. Women have most of the resources needed to produce a child, and using these resources has a huge biological cost. On top of that, they can't produce very many children when compared with men. Men, on the other hand, have relatively minuscule biological costs and risks associated with reproduction, and they can use their resources much more frequently than women can. As a result of this unequal initial investment, men compete for women, women are choosy, and the males in many species, that is, many mammalian species including humans as well as many species of birds, are expected to bring more resources to the table than just their sperm, apparently to make up for the biological resources that the female is forced to invest from the start. Indeed, the biologist Richard Dawkins talks about this at great length in his highly popular book, The Selfish Gene. As an analogy for this type of unequal investment, you could say that males trying to mate with females is like trying to trade a graphing calculator for a smartphone. Both men and women have to make the trade at some point if they want to pass on their genes, but you'd better believe women are going to hold out for the best damn graphing calculator they can find, and, if they can, demand that their partner make up for that unequal investment by providing extra resources while she's out of commission being pregnant and breastfeeding.
It's important for men to get their money right. Women, it's important for you to get your money right, but it's not as important for you as it is for us. Why, women? Because no one will ever not fuck you because you're broke.
Whereas men will basically take what they can get.
Nobody offers us shit. We got to fend for ourselves. We can't believe it when we get an offer. We're like, damn, this is my lucky day.
Indeed, on page 149 of The Selfish Gene, 30th Anniversary Edition, Dawkins writes, "We have looked at some of the things that a female might do if she has been deserted by her mate, but these all have the air of making the best of a bad job. Is there anything a female can do to reduce the extent to which her mate exploits her in the first place? She has a strong card in her hand. She can refuse to copulate. She is in demand in a seller's market. This is because she brings the dowry of a large, nutritious egg. A male who successfully copulates gains a valuable food reserve for his offspring. The female is potentially in a position to drive a hard bargain before she copulates. Once she has copulated, she has played her ace. Her egg has been committed to the male." In simple terms, women are more valuable than men in the sexual marketplace. More accurately stated, females are more valuable to males than males are to females. Or, in the words of Chris Rock,
Pussy costs money, dick is free. Any money you spend on dick is a bad investment.
Now, I'm not playing Chris Rock clips just because he's funny. It turns out that an evolutionary psychologist has actually published an entire paper about how many of Chris Rock's routines line up perfectly with modern research on the sexual dynamics between males and females, including the crucial observation that pussy costs money while dick is free. The link to the paper is in the video description as usual. I highly recommend reading the entire paper, especially since it catalogs some of Chris Rock's best material. This simple fact, which I've dubbed sexual economy, explains a lot of things which feminists often chalk up to cultural factors. First, it explains the different desires for mates between males and females, which we saw in part 1 of this series. Women are forced to invest heavily in each child they create, and they are physically burdened along the way, so they seek males with resources to ensure their survival. This burden on women is exacerbated by how long it takes human babies to gestate, how risky it is to give birth, and how long it takes human children to grow, all thanks to our oversized brains. To a female, resources like money and power are not only incredibly useful, they are also what Richard Dawkins would call an extended phenotype for males. They are an outward indicator of your genes, beyond how your genes construct your physical appearance. He must have good genes, or he wouldn't have so many resources. And this is doubly important because a man's resources are a big factor for the well-being of his children. However, to a man, a regular biological phenotype is basically all he needs to see, since a woman's largest investment is her body and her genes. She looks good? Well, she must have good genes, and she's probably very fertile. Sexual economy also explains female choosiness, as alluded to earlier, which Richard Dawkins refers to as coyness in his book. Women tend to be choosier than men because women have to make every encounter worth it. Females who weren't choosy in the past ended up squandering their limited reproductive capacity on less fit men, creating less than fit children which were more likely to die. This choosiness is even reflected in our DNA. We actually have twice as many female ancestors as male ancestors. Researchers have concluded that most of our female ancestors reproduced, while most of our male ancestors did not. A commonly cited figure states that about 80% of women reproduced while only 40% of men did. This disparity was even larger during the time of the agricultural revolution, when a select few men could gather resources in amounts that were previously unimaginable. Indeed, we continue to see this trend in the modern era. A survey by the dating website OkCupid found that women rated about 80% of men as being below average in attractiveness, whereas men rated women pretty much as a normal distribution. Gee, this must be cultural, right? This must be caused by toxic masculinity or something, right? If only we smashed the patriarchy, then men and women would be equally choosy, and there would be no expectation on men to pay for dates or on women to enhance their appearance to encourage males to compete for them. Right? No. This is an established biological fact, not some recent cultural phenomenon that can be whisked away. Is it culturally amplified? Sure, but that's about all you can say. Yet another fact which is illuminated by sexual economy is the double standard we have with regard to women who rape men. If a woman rapes a man, well, to use our previous analogy, she gave him a smartphone, and all she asked for in return was a graphing calculator. What a steal! I wish someone would make that kind of trade with me. But if a man rapes a woman, he stole her smartphone, and left her a pittance in return. This is an evolved instinct which has become an unfortunate stumbling block in our modern world which values gender equality. This double standard does not exist because patriarchy hurts men too, but because of the evolutionary baggage we've kept with us as modern civilizations have developed. Sexual economy even has something to say about slut-shaming. As Dawkins said, women are in demand in a seller's market. But if one seller, that is to say, one particular woman, decides to lower their prices significantly, that steals business away from the rest of the sellers. If the rest of the sellers can't compete at that level, or simply refuse to, their only remaining option is to shit-talk the defector, to make it sound like you're getting what you pay for, to slut-shame them. I go into more detail about this in my video, Sluts Are Ruining My Business. Sexual economy also explains why there is so much male frustration in romance. Trying to trade dick for pussy is not easy. In fact, I would say that most women don't appreciate how hard it is for men to compete for female attention, how little positive feedback most men get from women, and basically what it's like to live your whole life feeling categorically unattractive. And of course, the converse is probably true as well. Most men probably don't understand what it's like to get so much unsolicited attention, which can range from annoying to downright scary. Unfortunately, the grass doesn't appear to be much greener on either side.
Women are offered dick every day. Every woman in here gets offered dick at least 3 times a week. Oh, could I help you with that? Could I help you get some dick? Do you need some dick?
So as we've seen, these types of romantic interactions and the different ways in which men and women approach each other are solidly rooted in biology and evolution. As I've said before, these innate behaviors can be socially reinforced, but they are certainly not social constructs that sprang from patriarchy and rape culture, as many modern feminists would have you believe.